The alarm screamed across New Hebron's orbital station like wounded animals. Commander Rebecca Torres stood in the control room, her hands gripping the edge of the console so hard her knuckles turned white. Through the massive viewing windows, she could see them, 47 ships, 47 vessels of the Kryloth Empire, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Or so the Empire thought. The largest ship hung in the center like a predator among its pack. It was 5 times the size of New Hebron's entire orbital defense platform. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the light from the nearby star, and along its surface weapons ports glowed with an evil orange light. That was War Master Zefkar's flagship. Rebecca had read the intelligence reports. Zefkar had never lost a battle. He had destroyed 16 different species fleets in his long career. Today he was here for humanity. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Park, his voice shaking slightly. He was young, barely 23, and this was supposed to be a quiet posting on a farming colony. Not this. Never this. "Put it through," Rebecca said. She forced her voice to stay steady. 300,000 people lived on New Hebron. Most of them were farmers, engineers, teachers, and children. They had come here to build a new life, far from Earth's crowded cities. They had never asked to be on the front line of a war. The main screen flickered to life. War Master Zefkar appeared, and Rebecca had to fight not to step back. He was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like dark stone. His eyes were a burning yellow, and when he smiled she could see rows of sharp teeth. Humans of New Hebron. Zefkar's voice rumbled through the speakers like thunder. "I am War Master Zefkar of the Kryloth Empire, commander of the 3rd Fleet. You are in violation of Imperial space. You will surrender immediately and evacuate this world." "This is human territory," Rebecca said, forcing herself to meet those burning eyes. "We have legal claim to this system under the Galactic Settlement Treaty of 2184. Zefkar laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The treaty? You primitive creatures speak to me of treaties? Your species learned to travel between stars only 30 years ago. You are children playing in a universe you do not understand. The strong take what they wish. The weak surrender or die." He leaned forward, filling the screen. "I have conquered worlds older than your entire civilization. I have burned planets that housed billions. Your little colony of 300,000. He waved a hand dismissively. "Not even worth remembering. You have 24 of your Earth hours to evacuate. Anyone remaining after that will be considered hostile. And I will demonstrate what happens to those who defy the Kryloth Empire." The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Lieutenant Park said quietly, "Ma'am, what do we do?" Rebecca looked around the control room. 12 people. 12 frightened people who were looking to her for answers. She had served in Earth's defense forces for 15 years, but that had been patrol duty, piracy suppression, and rescue missions. Nothing like this. No one in humanity's brief spacefaring history had faced anything like this. "Send a priority message to Earth," she said. "Tell them everything, and start evacuation procedures. Get the children and elderly to the transports first." "Ma'am, we don't have enough ships to evacuate everyone in 24 hours, Park said. "Not even close. Our fastest transports would need at least 3 trips each, and that's if the Empire doesn't shoot them down." Rebecca knew. She had already done the math in her head. They could maybe save 50,000 people if they were lucky. The rest would be trapped here when Zefkar made good on his threat. "Do it anyway," she said. "Save everyone we can." The hours crawled by like wounded creatures. Rebecca watched as civilian transports launched from the surface, packed far beyond their safe capacity. She watched as families were torn apart, some boarding ships while others stayed behind because there was no room. She watched as brave volunteers gave up their seats to strangers' children, and all the while, the Kryloth fleet waited. They hung, in space like birds of prey, their weapons ports glowing, their shields shimmering with barely contained energy. Zefkar was clearly enjoying this. He could destroy New Hebron in minutes, but he wanted the humans to suffer first. He wanted them to feel helpless. 18 hours into the deadline, Rebecca's second-in-command, Major Chen, No relation to the E. Famous captain, he always joked, approached her with a data pad. His face was grim. "We've evacuated 73,000 so far," he said quietly. "But the transports are starting to break down. We're pushing them too hard. And New Hebron Command just sent a message. They refuse to leave. Governor Martinez says she won't abandon her people." Rebecca closed her eyes. Maria Martinez. They had been friends once back on Earth. She should have known Maria would stay. "Ma'am," Park called out. "I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. A ship just came out of FTL, heading straight for us." Rebecca's heart sank. "Kryloth reinforcements?" "No, ma'am. The signature is, it's human." Everyone in the control room turned to look at the sensor display. Sure enough, there it was. One ship, moving fast, very fast. "They're hailing us," Park said. "Audio only." "Put it through." A woman's voice came through the speakers, calm and professional. "New Hebron Station, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UNSC Valkyrie. We received your distress call. Hang tight. We're here to help." Rebecca stared at the sensor reading. One ship, one human ship against 47 Kryloth warships. It was insane. It was suicide. "Captain Chen," Rebecca said carefully, "you should know what you're flying into. There are 47 hostile vessels out here. War Master Zefkar commands them. He's never lost a battle." There was a pause. Then Captain Chen spoke again, and this time there was something in her voice. Something hard and cold and absolutely certain. "There's a first time for everything, Commander. Chen out." The ship appeared, on visual sensors a moment later, and Rebecca's breath caught in her throat. It was huge, massive, at least 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor plating. It looked nothing like the exploration vessels and small patrol ships humanity had built for the past 30 years. This was something else entirely. This was a warship. The Kryloth fleet had noticed too. Rebecca could see 3 of their destroyers breaking formation, moving to intercept. They were probably planning to disable the human ship and teach the Empire's newest enemy a lesson about respect. "Ma'am," Park whispered, "what is that thing? Where did it come from?" Rebecca shook her head slowly. She had no idea. In all her years of service, in all the classified briefings and intelligence reports, she had never heard of anything called the Valkyrie. Had Earth been building warships in secret, while the rest of humanity believed they were safe, protected by treaties and good intentions? Had someone been preparing for the day when the galaxy showed its teeth? The 3 Kryloth destroyers were in position now, their weapons charging. On the main screen, Rebecca could see the Valkyrie continuing forward at the same steady pace, not slowing, not deviating from its course. And then, everything changed. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie with her hands clasped behind her back. She looked calm, but inside her heart was pounding. This was it. Everything they had worked for. Everything they had built in secret for the past 10 years. It all came down to the next few minutes. "Status report," she said quietly. "All weapon systems online," Commander Jackson reported from the tactical station. His dark skin gleamed with sweat under the bridge lights, but his voice was steady. "Shields at full power. Point defense grid active. Railguns loaded and ready. We are weapons hot, Captain." "Engine room reports all systems green," added Lieutenant Yamada from engineering. "Reactor output at 90% and climbing. We can go to full combat power on your command." Sarah nodded. Through the forward view screen she could see the Kryloth fleet. 47 ships. She had studied the intelligence reports until she could recite them in her sleep. Plasma lances that could melt through traditional armor. Energy shields that had never been penetrated. Missile systems that could track targets through FTL jumps. The Kryloth Empire had conquered 17 species with this technology, but they had never faced humanity at war. 3 destroyers breaking formation, Jackson called out. "They're moving to intercept." "Looks like they want to play." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "How polite of them. Let's see what they've got." The Kryloth destroyers were fast, she had to give them that. Each one was about 400 meters long, sleek and deadly. They spread out as they approached, forming a triangle pattern. Classic pack tactics. On the Valkyrie's sensors, Sarah could see their weapon systems powering up. "Captain, they're hailing us," said Communications Officer Rodriguez. "Should I respond?" "Negative. Let them wonder." The first plasma lance struck the Valkyrie's forward shields 3 seconds later. It was a brilliant blue-white beam that would have vaporized any of humanity's older ships in an instant. The shield flared bright where it hit, energy crackling and sparking. Then it held. Sarah watched the readouts carefully. Shield strength? "Impact absorbed," Jackson reported, his voice carrying a note of satisfaction. "Forward shields at 98%. Their weapons are exactly what we expected, Captain." The math was right. Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. 3 years of testing. 3 years of studying captured Kryloth weapons. Running simulations, building and rebuilding the shield generators. And it worked. It actually worked. "All 3 destroyers firing now," Jackson said. "Multiple plasma lances, missile launch detected, and they're firing some kind of gravity distortion weapon. That's new." The Valkyrie shuddered as the weapons hit home. Alarms blared for a moment before Yamada silenced them. Shields holding at 94%. "The gravity weapon is interesting, but our hull structure is compensating. No damage." On the view screen, Sarah could see the 3 Kryloth destroyers circling like sharks. They were probably confused right now. Their weapons should have crippled this human ship. They had crippled every other ship they had ever fired on. But the Valkyrie just hung there in space, taking everything they could throw at it. "I think we've been polite enough," Sarah said. "Jackson, target the lead destroyer. Fire solution on my mark. Railgun 1 and 2. I want a double tap." "Aye, Captain." Firing solution locked. Weapons ready. Sarah counted to 3 in her head. Let them think they had a chance. Let them think their shields would save them. Fire. The Valkyrie's railguns fired with no sound in the vacuum of space, but everyone on the bridge could feel it through the deck plates. A deep thrumming vibration as magnetic fields accelerated 2 tungsten rods to 3% of light speed. The rods were each 3 meters long and weighed 5 tons. At that velocity, they hit with the force of tactical nuclear weapons. The first rod struck the lead destroyer's shield. Unlike the Valkyrie's shields, which were designed to disperse energy across a wide area, the Kryloth shields tried to stop objects dead. That worked fine against missiles and energy weapons. Against a solid tungsten rod moving at 9,000 kilometers per second, it was like trying to stop a train with a bedsheet. The shield flashed once and failed. The rod punched through the destroyer's hull, through its reactor chamber and out the other side. The second rod hit half a second later, smashing through the already damaged ship and breaking it in half. The explosion was spectacular. Bright and brief, like a miniature star being born and dying in the same instant. Jackson's voice was very calm when he spoke. "Target destroyed. Time to kill, 4.7 seconds." For a long moment, nobody on the bridge said anything. They had known the weapons would work. They had run the simulations 1,000 times. But knowing and seeing were different things. Sarah had just given the order that destroyed a ship and killed its crew. She felt the weight of that decision settle on her shoulders like a physical thing, but she could not afford to hesitate. "Not now. Target the remaining 2 destroyers," she said. Same firing solution. The other 2 Kryloth ships were already trying to run. Sarah could see their engines flaring bright as they attempted to escape, but they had come in too close, too confident. The Valkyrie's targeting computer tracked them easily. 2 more shots. 2 more explosions. The entire engagement lasted less than 10 seconds. All 3 targets destroyed, Jackson reported. No damage to the Valkyrie. Shields already regenerating. We're at 97%. Sarah pulled up the tactical display. The main Kryloth fleet was still in formation around New Hebron, but she could see ships starting to move. They had just watched 3 of their destroyers get swatted out of space like flies. She imagined War Master Zefkar was having some very uncomfortable thoughts right now. "Open a channel to the Kryloth flagship," Sarah said. "All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." Rodriguez worked his console for a moment. "Channel open, Captain." Sarah took a deep breath. What she said next would matter. Words had power. They could prevent bloodshed or cause it. She chose carefully. "War Master Zefkar, my name is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Command. You have threatened human civilians. You have invaded human territory. You have given us an ultimatum. Now I'm giving you one." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "You have 5 minutes to recall all your forces and leave this system. If you comply, you and your crews will be allowed to leave safely. If you do not comply, I will treat your presence as an act of war, and I will respond accordingly. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly. I'm picking up a response. Audio only. Zefkar's voice came through the speakers, but it was different now. The casual arrogance was gone. Now he sounded like what he was. A military commander who had just seen something that should not be possible. You destroyed 3 of my ships, Zefkar said. Your weapons went through our shields like they were not even there. This should not be possible. Human technology is primitive. We have studied your ships. You should not have weapons like this. You studied our exploration vessels and civilian transports, Sarah replied. You made assumptions. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was threatening our people. Would you like to make a third? Another pause. Sarah could imagine the War Master looking at the tactical situation, looking at the Valkyrie, doing the math. 3 destroyers destroyed in less than 10 seconds. What could this human ship do to his entire fleet? You are 1 ship, Zefkar said finally. I have 44 ships remaining. Even with your weapons, the numbers are against you. Sarah smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Then test me, War Master. Bring your 44 ships. Bring your empire's best, and I'll send you home in wreckage and life pods. Or you can leave now with your honor and your life intact. Your choice. You have 4 minutes left. She cut the transmission before he could respond. Think he'll take the offer? Jackson asked quietly. Sarah shook her head. No, he's never lost a battle. His pride won't let him retreat from 1 human ship, even after what we just showed him. He'll convince himself that we got lucky, or that we can't possibly have enough ammunition for a sustained fight. Can we? Yamada asked. Handle all 44 ships? Sarah looked at the tactical display again. 44 ships. Thousands of lives. This was going to be bloody. We're about to find out, she said. All hands battle stations. This is not a drill. The 4 minutes passed like years. Sarah stood at the center of the bridge, watching the tactical display. The Kryloth fleet had reorganized itself into an attack formation. 44 ships, their weapons glowing, their shields at maximum power. She could see War Master Zefkar's flagship at the center, protected by layers of cruisers and destroyers. He had chosen pride over wisdom. Now they would all pay the price. Time's up, Jackson said quietly. As if they had heard him, the entire Kryloth fleet opened fire at once. The space between them and the Valkyrie lit up like a fireworks display. Plasma lances, missiles, energy torpedoes, and gravity weapons all converging on one target. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Valkyrie's shields flared brilliant white as the weapons struck home. The ship shuddered, and Sarah had to grab the railing to keep her balance. Alarms screamed across the bridge. The lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized. Shield status, Sarah called out over the noise. Forward shields at 68%, Jackson replied, his fingers flying across his console. Starboard at 72, port at 74, aft at 91. The concentration of fire is incredible, Captain. They're coordinating their attacks perfectly. Can the shields hold? They're regenerating between volleys. As long as they don't all hit the same spot at exactly the same time, yes. We can take this. Another volley struck. The ship shuddered again. Sarah watched the shield percentages drop to 59%, then slowly climb back to 63 as the generators redirected power. Captain, Yamada called from engineering. Their weapons are overheating. I'm reading thermal buildup on 70% of their ships. They can't maintain this rate of fire for long. Sarah nodded. That was the difference. The Kryloth had powerful weapons, but they overheated quickly. They were designed for short, devastating battles against enemies who couldn't fight back. But the Valkyrie systems were built for sustained combat. Human engineers had spent years solving heat management problems that the Kryloth had never bothered with. Jackson, begin return fire, Sarah ordered. Target their destroyers first. Fire pattern Delta. I want to thin out their numbers while conserving ammunition. Aye, Captain. Engaging. The Valkyrie's weapons came alive. Railguns, laser arrays, and missile pods all fired in a carefully coordinated pattern. Sarah had drilled her crew on this for months. Every shot had to count. Every target had to be chosen carefully. They had plenty of ammunition, but not infinite amounts. The first railgun shot took a destroyer dead center. The ship simply came apart, its hull unable to handle the kinetic impact. The second shot clipped a cruiser's engine section, sending it spinning out of control. A third shot missed entirely as the target vessel rolled at the last second, but the fourth shot caught it anyway and tore through its bridge section. 3 targets destroyed, 1 disabled, Jackson reported. Adjusting fire. Target lock on the next group. The battle turned into a brutal dance. The Kryloth ships moved in coordinated attack runs, firing everything they had at the Valkyrie. The human battleship took the punishment, shields flaring and regenerating while methodically destroying ship after ship. It was not elegant. It was not quick. It was simply relentless. 20 minutes into the battle, Sarah's tactical display showed the score. 16 Kryloth ships destroyed, 5 more disabled and drifting. That left 23 still fighting. But they were starting to break formation. She could see it in their movements, the way they hesitated before committing to attack runs. They were afraid. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission from the Kryloth flagship," Rodriguez said. "War Master Zefkar wants to talk." "Put him through." Zefkar's face appeared on the main screen. He looked different now. His burning yellow eyes were dimmed, his expression no longer arrogant. One of his forearms hung limp, and there was a deep gash across his forehead that leaked dark purple blood. "Captain Chen," he said, and his voice carried none of its earlier thunder. "You have proven your point. Your weapons are superior. Your shields are stronger. Your ship is more powerful than anything in my fleet." "I tried to tell you," Sarah replied. "You wouldn't listen." "I have lost 21 ships," Zefkar continued. "Thousands of my warriors are dead. And your ship still fights as if this were the first minute of battle, not the 21st. I've never seen anything like this." He paused, and Sarah thought she saw something in those alien eyes. Was it respect, or just calculation? "I am prepared to negotiate a ceasefire," Zefkar said carefully. Sarah shook her head. "No," Zefkar's eyes widened. "No? You want to fight until we are all dead?" "I want you to surrender," Sarah said flatly. "Unconditional. Power down your weapons. Drop your shields. Prepare to be boarded. Those are my terms." "Impossible," Zefkar roared, his pride flaring back to life. "I am War Master of the 3rd Fleet. I do not surrender. The Kryloth Empire does not surrender." "Then you die," Sarah said simply. "Your choice. But I want you to understand something, War Master. This isn't about pride anymore. This isn't about military honor or empire politics. You came here to threaten 300,000 civilians. Men, women, and children who just wanted to live in peace. You gave them 24 hours to abandon their homes or die." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to something cold and hard. "So now I'm giving you 5 minutes to surrender. After that, I stop being merciful. I stop targeting engines and weapons. I start targeting life support and crew compartments. And I will kill every single one of your warriors until your fleet is nothing but empty hulls drifting in space. 5 minutes, War Master, choose." She cut the transmission. "Captain, was that wise?" Commander Jackson asked quietly. "If we push him too hard, he might fight to the death." "He's already lost," Sarah replied. "He just needs to accept it. Besides, I meant what I said. I'm not here to fight fair. I'm here to protect those colonists." The 5 minutes crawled by. Sarah watched the tactical display, ready to give the order to resume firing. But then, one by one, the Kryloth ships began to power down their weapons. Their shields flickered and failed. The great flagship of War Master Zefkar went dark except for emergency lights. "They're surrendering," Rodriguez said, his voice filled with disbelief. "All of them. They're actually surrendering." Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Jackson, keep all weapons locked on target. If even one ship tries anything, destroy it immediately. Rodriguez, open a channel to New Hebron Station. Let Commander Torres know the situation." "Aye, Captain." "Channel open. New Hebron Station, this is Captain Chen. The Kryloth fleet has surrendered. The immediate threat is over. You can stand down from evacuation procedures." There was a long pause, then Commander Torres's voice came through, thick with emotion. "Captain Chen, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but thank you. Thank you for saving us." Sarah felt the weight on her shoulders grow heavier. Yes, she had saved them, but at what cost? 21 Kryloth ships destroyed, thousands dead, and this was just the beginning. "Don't thank me yet, Commander," Sarah said quietly. "This was just one fleet. When the Kryloth Empire finds out what happened here, they're going to be very interested in humanity. We just kicked a hornet's nest." She looked at the tactical display again, at the disabled ships and the debris fields. Then she made a decision that would change everything. "Rodriguez, I want you to record everything that happened here. Every sensor log, every communication, every weapons reading. Then I want you to broadcast it. Open channel. Maximum range, all frequencies. I want every species in this sector to see what happened today, Captain. Jackson looked confused. Why would we do that? Sarah turned to face her crew. They looked tired, shaken, but victorious. They had done the impossible. One ship against a fleet, and they had won. Because the galaxy needs to know, Sarah said. They need to know that humanity is not prey. We're not going to be pushed around, and anyone who threatens human civilians will face the consequences. We're sending a message, people, and that message is simple. Leave us alone or face the Valkyrie. The broadcast spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every civilized species with access to communications networks had seen it. The footage was raw and undeniable. 1 human battleship, 47 Kryloth warships, 21 destroyed, 26 forced to surrender. The entire battle had lasted 37 minutes. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Geneva, Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb watched the recordings for the 5th time. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes, and right now those eyes were fixed on the screen showing the Valkyrie's railguns tearing through Kryloth shields like paper. My God, he whispered. She actually did it. Beside him, Ambassador Liu Chen stood with her arms crossed. She was Sarah Chen's mother, though few people knew that. She had pushed for the Valkyrie program from the beginning, back when most of Earth's government thought it was a waste of resources. Back when everyone believed the galaxy was safe because of treaties and trade agreements. You sound surprised, Marcus, Liu said dryly. You helped design that ship. Did you think it wouldn't work? Hoping something works and seeing it work are different things, Webb replied. He pulled up another display. This one showing communication intercepts from across the galaxy. The reactions are coming in. The Kryloth Empire is furious. Emperor Kithral himself has issued a statement calling Captain Chen's actions unprovoked aggression and demanding her immediate surrender to face justice. Justice? Liu laughed without humor. They invaded our territory. They threatened our civilians. But now that they got their teeth kicked in, suddenly they want justice? That's not the concerning part, Webb said. He brought up another set of data. These are from the other species. The Valorians, the Centauri Federation, the Hive Worlds. They're all talking. Some are impressed. Some are scared. But all of them are recalculating their opinions of humanity. Liu nodded slowly. She understood what he meant. For 30 years, humanity had been the new kids in a very old galaxy. Weak, naive, easy to push around. Most species had been polite about it. But the message was clear. Stay in your corner, don't make trouble. And maybe you'll be allowed to survive. The Valkyrie had just torn that assumption to pieces. How many more ships do we have? Leo asked. Webb brought up another display. The Valkyrie was the prototype. We have 7 more in the final stages of construction, another 15 in the beginning phases, and if we shift our industrial capacity, we could have 47 operational within 3 years. 47, Leo repeated, the same number as Zefkar's fleet. Symbolic? Practical, Webb corrected. We studied the Kryloth battle doctrines. Their standard fleet composition is 47 ships. If we can match that with vessels as powerful as the Valkyrie, we become a threat they can't ignore, a power they have to respect, or a target they decide to eliminate before we get stronger, Liu said quietly. That was the gamble. That was what kept Webb awake at night. By revealing the Valkyrie, by broadcasting that battle to the entire galaxy, they had announced humanity's arrival as a military power, but they had also painted a target on Earth's back. If the Kryloth Empire decided to commit their full forces, Earth had 8 battleships to face thousands of enemy vessels. Sarah knows the risk, Webb said. That's why she sent the broadcast. She's forcing our hand. No more hiding. No more pretending we're just peaceful explorers. We're in the game now, whether we like it or not. On the station at New Hebron, Captain Sarah Chen sat in the commandeered conference room and reviewed casualty reports. The Kryloth had surrendered 26 ships. The crews of those ships totaled just over 8,000 individuals. She had allowed them to evacuate to their life pods, and now those pods were being picked up by human rescue vessels and transported to holding facilities. 8,000 prisoners. That was going to be a diplomatic nightmare. Commander Rebecca Torres entered the room carrying 2 cups of coffee. She set one in front of Sarah and sat down heavily in the opposite chair. The last transport just left, Rebecca said. All 300,000 colonists are accounted for. Some injuries during the evacuation rush, but no fatalities. You saved them all, Captain. Sarah wrapped her hands around the coffee cup, feeling its warmth. She had not slept in 36 hours. Her body ached and her mind felt like it was wrapped in fog. But she could not rest yet. Any word from Earth? Sarah asked. Communications are going crazy, Rebecca replied. Every government, every news agency, every corporation wants to talk to you. You're the most famous person in human space right now. Maybe the most famous person in the entire galaxy. I didn't do this for fame, Sarah said tiredly. I know, but fame is what you've got. And questions. Lots of questions. Like where the Valkyrie came from. How long humanity has been building warships in secret. What other weapons we have hidden away. People are scared, Sarah, not just aliens. Humans, too. They're asking if their own government has been lying to them. Sarah took a sip of coffee. It was bitter and strong, exactly what she needed. The truth is complicated. Yes, Earth's government knew about the Valkyrie program, a small group within the military and civilian leadership. We kept it classified because we didn't want to start an arms race. We hoped we'd never have to use it. But you did use it, Rebecca pointed out. And now everyone knows. So what happens next? That was the question, wasn't it? Sarah had spent 10 years as the Valkyrie's captain, preparing for this moment, training her crew, running simulations, testing weapons, but all of that had been about the battle itself. Nobody had really planned for what came after victory. War Master Zefkar wants to speak with you, Rebecca said, changing the subject. He's requested a formal meeting. Just you and him, no weapons. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Is that wise? Meeting alone with a Kryloth warrior? Probably not. But I think he has something he needs to say. And despite everything, he kept his word about the surrender. None of his ships tried to escape or fight. That counts for something. Sarah thought about it for a moment, then nodded. Set it up. But have security nearby, just in case. 20 minutes later, Sarah found herself in a small room face-to-face with War Master Zefkar. The Kryloth warrior looked diminished somehow. His wounded arm had been treated, but he still held it carefully. His yellow eyes were dull and his shoulders slumped with fatigue. Captain Chen, he said, his voice a low rumble. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. War Master, Sarah replied, remaining standing. She did not trust him enough to sit. Zefkar studied her for a long moment. You are young for such a command. How many battles had you fought before today? This was my first, Sarah admitted. The War Master's eyes widened. Your first? You commanded that ship, fought that battle, and defeated my entire fleet, and it was your first time in real combat? The simulations were very thorough. Zefkar made a sound that might have been a laugh. Simulations, of course. Humans and their simulations. He shook his head slowly. I have fought for 40 years, Captain. I have conquered worlds and destroyed fleets. And I was beaten in 37 minutes by someone who had never fired a shot in anger before. The shame is considerable. Is that why you wanted to meet? Sarah asked. To tell me about your shame? No, Zefkar said. I wanted to warn you. You have humiliated the Kryloth Empire. You have broadcast that humiliation across the galaxy. Emperor Kithril will not forgive this. He will demand retribution, and he has resources you cannot imagine. Let him come, Sarah said coldly. We'll be ready. Will you? Zefkar leaned forward. You have one powerful ship, maybe a few more, but the Empire has thousands. When they come, they will not send one fleet. They will send dozens, hundreds. They will not stop until your worlds are ash and your species is extinct. That is the price of humiliating an empire. Sarah met his gaze steadily. Then the Empire will learn an expensive lesson. Because we will not surrender. We will not bow. And every ship you send we will destroy, even if it costs us everything. Zefkar studied her face for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. You mean that? You truly do. You would die before submitting. Every human would, Sarah replied. That's the difference between your empire and us. You conquer because it makes you feel powerful. We fight because we refuse to be victims, and that makes us very dangerous. The War Master stood slowly, his full height forcing him to hunch slightly in the human-sized room. I will tell the Emperor what I witnessed here. Perhaps he will listen. Perhaps not. But I will tell him this: humanity is not prey, and anyone who treats them as such will learn what I learned today. He moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Captain. In Kryloth culture, we have a saying. The first wound teaches caution. The second wound teaches respect. The third wound teaches fear. You have given my people their first wound. I do not know what the second will be, but I hope for all our sakes there is not a third. Then he was gone, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and her coffee, and the weight of what she had started. 6 months had passed since the Battle of New Hebron. The galaxy had changed in ways both visible and invisible. Trade routes had shifted. Alliances had been reconsidered. And humanity, once dismissed as insignificant newcomers, now sat at tables where decisions about the future were made. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the Valkyrie, looking down at Earth. The blue and white marble hung in the darkness of space, beautiful and fragile. From here, she could not see the sprawling cities or the billions of people. She could not see the construction yards where 7 new battleships now patrolled the solar system, or the recruitment centers where volunteers lined up to join the expanding fleet. All she could see was home. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain?" Commander Jackson's voice came from behind her. Sarah turned and smiled slightly. "Just thinking about how much has changed. 6 months ago, I was worried about fighting one battle. Now I'm worried about preventing a war." Jackson moved to stand beside her, looking out at Earth. "The diplomatic talks are going well from what I hear. The Kryloth Empire withdrew from all human territory. They signed the Non-Aggression Pact. Emperor Kithral even sent a formal apology to the colonists of New Hebron." "Words," Sarah said softly. "Just words," Zefkar warned me. "The Empire doesn't forgive humiliation. They're waiting, building, planning. One day they'll test us again." "Let them," Jackson replied. "We're not the same species they invaded 6 months ago. We have 23 operational battleships now, 50 more under construction. Every human colony has defense platforms. Our people are trained and ready. If the Kryloth want round 2, they'll get more than they bargained for." Sarah shook her head. "That's what worries me. We've become exactly what I was afraid of. A military power, a threat. We're building weapons instead of hospitals. Training soldiers instead of teachers. Is this really who we want to be?" Before Jackson could answer, the intercom crackled to life. "Captain Chen, you have a priority communication from Earth. It's Admiral Webb." "Put it through to the observation deck," Sarah said. A holographic display materialized in the air, showing Admiral Webb's tired face. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past 6 months. "Captain Chen," Webb said, "we have a situation. A distress call from the Yevon colony. They're not human." Sarah's attention sharpened. "What's the nature of the distress?" "Pirates. The Bloodfang clan from the outer reaches. They've seized control of 3 orbital stations and are demanding ransom. The Yevon government has requested our assistance. Why us?" Sarah asked. "The Yevon have their own defense forces." "Because the Yevon defense forces are outgunned and outmatched," Webb replied. "And because word has spread about what the Valkyrie can do. They're asking specifically for you, Captain. They're offering to pay, to enter a mutual defense treaty, whatever we want. They just need help." Sarah felt Jackson tense beside her. This was the moment that would define what humanity was becoming. They could refuse, tell the Yevon to solve their own problems. That would be the safe choice. The cautious choice, or they could help, extend their protection to non-human colonies. Become not just defenders of humanity, but defenders of anyone who needed it. "What are our orders, Admiral?" Sarah asked. Webb was quiet for a moment. "Officially, you're to proceed to Yevon space and assess the situation. Use your best judgment. But Sarah, I need you to understand something. If you help them, everything changes. We won't just be protecting human interests anymore. We'll be inserting ourselves into galactic politics, making enemies and allies, taking sides. And if we don't help?" Sarah asked. "If we let innocent people die because they're not human? Then we preserve our neutrality," Webb said. "We stay safe. We build our strength without making new enemies. It's the logical choice." Sarah looked back at Earth hanging in space. She thought about New Hebron, about 300,000 people who would have died if the Valkyrie had not arrived. She thought about Zefkar's warning about the price of humiliating an empire. Then she thought about something else, something her mother had told her when she first took command of the Valkyrie. Luchin had looked her daughter in the eyes and said, "Power without principle is just tyranny with better weapons. If we're going to be strong, we have to be good too. Otherwise, what's the point?" "How long until the Bloodfang pirates execute their threat?" Sarah asked. 18 hours, Webb replied. "Then we don't have time to debate. Jackson, recall all crew to the ship. Plot a course for Yevon space, maximum speed. We launch in 1 hour." "Aye, Captain," Jackson said, already moving toward the door. Webb's face in the hologram showed relief and worry in equal measure. "Sarah, are you sure about this?" "No," Sarah admitted. "But I'm sure about what happens if we do nothing. Admiral, humanity spent 30 years being pushed around because we were weak. Now we're strong. But if we only use that strength to protect ourselves, we're no better than the Kryloth. We're just another species looking out for our own interests." She straightened her shoulders, feeling the weight of command settle there like an old friend. "Send a message to the Yevon government. Tell them the Valkyrie is coming. And send a message to the Bloodfang clan, too. Tell them they have one chance to surrender and leave the system peacefully. After that, they deal with us." Webb nodded slowly. "I'll send the messages. And Sarah, good luck. You're not just representing Earth anymore. You're representing what we want humanity to stand for." The hologram faded. Sarah stood alone in the observation deck for another moment, looking at Earth. Then she turned and headed for the bridge. There was work to do. The Valkyrie arrived at Yevon space 16 hours later, pushing her engines to the limit. Sarah stood on the bridge, studying the tactical situation. 3 orbital stations occupied by pirates. 15 Bloodfang ships, all heavily armed. The Yevon Defense Force was holding position but clearly outmatched. "Status report," Sarah commanded. "All systems green," Jackson replied. "Weapons hot. Shields at full power. Ready for combat on your order." "Communications, did the Bloodfang respond to our message?" Rodriguez shook his head. "They laughed, Captain. Their leader, someone called Scar the Butcher, said they would add the Valkyrie to their collection of disabled ships. He says no one tells the Bloodfang what to do." Sarah allowed herself a thin smile. "Well, I suppose we'll have to educate him. Open a channel to the Yevon Defense Force. Let them know we're here to help." The response came quickly. A Yevon commander appeared on screen, his reptilian features showing obvious relief. "Captain Chen." "Thank the stars. We thought you might not make it in time." "We made it," Sarah said simply. "Pull your forces back. We'll handle the Bloodfang. Captain, there are 15 of them." "Are you sure?" Sarah thought about New Hebron. About 47 Kryloth warships that had thought one human ship would be easy prey. About War Master Zefkar learning the hard way that assumptions could be fatal. "We're sure," she said. "Stand by." The Valkyrie moved forward, its massive frame heading directly for the occupied stations. The Bloodfang ships formed up to meet it, their weapons charging. Sarah could see them on the tactical display, confident and aggressive. Pirates who had never faced real opposition. They were about to learn. "Captain," Jackson said quietly, "we could destroy these ships easily. They're not military grade. Should we offer them another chance to surrender?" Sarah considered it. Then she shook her head. They had their chance. They chose to threaten civilians. They chose to ignore our warning. Now they face the consequences. Target the first wave. Fire when ready. The Valkyrie's weapons spoke with mechanical precision. 3 railgun shots. 3 destroyed pirate ships. The rest of the Bloodfang fleet scattered in panic, but the Valkyrie's targeting computer tracked them all. One by one, they were disabled or destroyed. The entire engagement lasted 8 minutes. When the last pirate ship surrendered, Sarah opened a channel to the stations. "This is Captain Sarah Chen. The Bloodfang clan is no longer a threat. You're safe now." The response from the stations was immediate and emotional. Cheers, tears, expressions of gratitude in a dozen different languages. Sarah accepted them all with quiet grace, but her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about what came next. 3 days later, the Valkyrie departed Yevon space with formal thanks from the Yevon government and an offer of alliance. As the ship entered FTL, Sarah found herself back in the observation deck looking at the stars. Jackson joined her again. "You did it, Captain. You saved them." "We did it," Sarah corrected. "The crew, the ship, everyone. But Jackson, I need you to understand something. This won't be the last time. Word will spread. Other colonies, other species, they'll call for help. And if we keep doing this, we're not just Earth's protectors anymore. We're something else." "Peacekeepers?" Jackson suggested. "Protectors," Sarah said softly, "of anyone who needs it, human or not. That's what we're choosing to be. And it's going to make our lives very complicated." She pulled up a holographic display showing intelligence reports. "The Kryloth Empire is watching us. So is the Centauri Federation, the Hive Worlds, and a dozen other powers. Some of them see us as potential allies. Others see us as threats. All of them are trying to figure out what humanity wants." "What do we want?" Jackson asked. Sarah smiled, and this time it reached her eyes.